When you're on the road, your day is really revolving around the show, either getting up for it or coming down from it. But when it's time to sit down and settle into that writing mode, we really don't have much, trouble getting back to that place again. And if you're living life every day with your eyes open, truly open, every day is an opportunity to record a memory that can be utilized again in song. You can compartmentalize it, and then in 6 months from now, you may remember something. Sometimes you may have forgotten something. You had a great lyric line today or a great title. I'm not one of those guys that sits around with a notebook. I always feel like if it's really that worthy, I'll remember it. Maybe it's a little bit of being lazy, because I think I probably have dropped quite a few good ones over the years. But on the other hand, it comes back to you. The magic is that you write them from such a pure place that when you do and you write something that it moves you for a reason that you don't think anyone else is going to understand. Take a song like It's My Life, okay? There's a lyric in there like, Frankie said I did it my way. And I had to not only explain it, but argue the point with Richie for a long time, because it was Frank Sinatra. He said, all right, you got to sing it every night. And I said, yeah, that's right, I do. And the point is it didn't matter that I was talking about Sinatra. The listener made Frankie them, or their friend, or their brother, or a fictional character. It was just it came from such a pure place that it meant the same thing to anyone and everyone. I mean, there's often times where you'll play an old song and remember where you wrote it and why. You could still, even after thousands of times performing the song, think about where you wrote it during that performance, or the magic that happens when you sing it and you see that interaction with an audience and you think, wow. Richie and I sat down and wrote this next to the washing machine in his mother's basement. There you go. That's a good day in the basement, The beauty of writing a song is that it should be able to be performed simply with an acoustic guitar. A lot of times recordings are made of popular songs that they don't hold up without the production. We've always felt that the best songs hold up with an acoustic guitar, and they're pliable, so you could do them in a different manner, and reinterpret them. Living on a Prayer could be done as a polka and work. It is what it is. That song just works. Same with Wanted Dead or Alive. I love that. I think it's easy to sell a song in its most basic, state of undress, if you will. In the midst of all the bombast that was going on at MTV and in the height of the video era and the Video Music Awards, when that really mattered, and people were coming out with all this huge production. You wrote a song, you worked hard on it, and then you have some director saying, it's about fire and dancers. And what? You had no voice in that. You were young, you were naive, and in that era, that's what they did in videos like this, and they interpreted your songs and ruined them. So here we are, thrust into this situation on one of these kinds of award shows, and I thought, this is hogwash, because I don't get it. We decided to do a 180 and sit down with no shoes on and blue jeans and play a song. And then we played another song. And then Dick Clark said, play both songs. And it was as simple as that. And everybody else with their production and dancers and fireworks and blah, blah, blah. What you heard about the next day in the media was two guys with bare feet and two acoustic guitars. On this last record, which was again off the circle, there was a song called Superman Tonight that I was just doing just by myself, real simple, real simple pick and style acoustic. Did it by accident, one night, and people really responded because they said, oh, we could really understand the lyric and a different kind of depth to it. There are artists that know how to deliver a lyric so well with little or no instrumentation, you know, and it just rips your heart out. You know, you think about Sinead O'Connor singing "Nothing Compares to You." You know, and you can picture that video, but think about that vocal delivery. Think about Damien Rice singing "The Blower's Daughter," you know, and the delivery with that simple guitar. There's so many beautiful things that are just about a lyric. Sometimes it's just the magic of the audience. Sometimes it's the beauty of the venue. You know, sometimes it's the historical significance of the place that you're playing on that date. But I enjoy it. I'm very comfortable at football stadiums. Some guys will say they don't like it. I've always been very comfortable there. You like to have a certain amount of time there. You like to warm up at this time. You like, you know, yeah, I'm not one of those guys that gets out of the car and walks onto the stage. I like to go there and breathe the air for a while. But it's not superstition, it's just probably more routine. In my formative years, in the latter 70s, that was my first introduction to what was album-oriented rock on the radio. You know, when the FM DJ was influential and mattered, and the kinds of music that you were hearing from older brothers and their friends, and the punk movement the first time here. Alice Cooper to Leonard Skinner, Led Zeppelin to the beginning of Aerosmith. It was hard rock stuff that was popular in the mid to latter 70s period. This was precursor to MTV and video, and bands didn't tour as widely as they do, you know, nowadays. And there weren't a lot of venues that you had access to. So, you know, a lot of imagination and sitting around in your bedroom with, you know, an album. You try to live a life. I think that one of the misconceptions about this business is that you live in that bubble. The bubble really exists when you're working to get you to and from the venues, but the rest of life is pretty simple. It is what you make it. I've always found that the bigger the entourage, the more people want to look in the middle of it to see what the hoopla is about. But the true, real, and big, and long-lasting guys have lived a very normal life.